they thought the Dobbs decision, reproductive freedom, abortion rights would help them cut into the margins. Well, they're at 91%, we'll see, but 40% is her number if you round that up. We'll go back in time. It's a tiny bit, but it's not a significant jump from where the president was 4 years ago. And Trump's at 60% if you round up then. He's at 59. It's a little bit, maybe a tiny inroads there for her. So you're moving around up here. You go up to Washington County. This is a big 70% of the vote here for Trump. Let's just double check it and come back.
He improved.
Up a little bit. He improved a little bit. And then you come over here to the O. I did wow backwards for you there. I put the O at the end.
Yeah.
But you come over to Ozaki here, and the former president is at 55% of the vote in 2020, and he's at 56, roughly the same, but a little bit, so Trump is not underperforming. It's maybe within the margins, but when you see that well behind where President Biden was, and now you're waiting on this. I mean, there are some other small things. Let's take a look and see what else is out there. But as you can see, the biggest thing is here, and some of these votes up in here, if you're in the Trump campaign, we're talking about, can she come back? But if you're in the Trump campaign, you're also saying, do we have a cushion? Is there more coming in for us? And the answer is yes.
They got all that Green Bay vote.
The answer is yes when you look up there. So the next thing we learned from Milwaukee is how many votes, what is her percentage, how does it affect the statewide math, and then how much is left?
Yeah.
How much is left? In your biggest area, you have to turn them out. Because then again, I just want to come up here and look at this. Again, Brown County, this is Green Bay, blue-collar workers. Trump's getting 61, the vice president's getting 37 or 38 if you want to round that up. That matters.
Oh my God,
it matters.
He almost shot almost 10 points.
Right.
9 points.
Right. In a battleground state, he's up and she's down. In a place where if you're the Harris campaign, the Biden campaign, you're not going to win here. You're not going to win here. But if you make it that race, if you make it that close, instead of that close, you get a better result. Period. It's simple math.
Let's go on to the third of the blue wall states, Michigan. Jim Sciutto is at a vote counting center in Detroit. And Jim, you have an update on the vote in Wayne County. Tell us.
Well, let me tell you, we've been in touch with the Secretary of State's office really every few minutes here, trying to figure out when we're going to get another batch of Detroit, of course, the surrounding Wayne County votes. And we're told very soon. They won't put a figure on very soon, but very soon. We know they're working hard, calculating those numbers, counting those votes, and that there have been no issues. They're not encountering any issues with machines, et cetera. This is just a process of getting the work done. We've also been in touch with Macomb County, where we were outside of Detroit earlier today. They are also expecting, they say, another batch of votes to be reported quite soon. And here where we are in Detroit, this is the location where they've been counting the absentee ballots. Just in the last hour, another 2,500 or so absentee ballots came in. That brings us pretty much to the end of the 100,000 that they've expected. At some point in the next hour, we'll see another U-Haul truck come in with the remaining absentee ballots that they've collected from drop boxes around the city here. And they've been counting as they've been going. Remember, because they started counting last Monday. They didn't have to wait till Election Day. So those numbers will be done soon. I will say the Secretary of State told me earlier this evening that she's moving up her expectation that by midday tomorrow, they could report final unofficial results, saying she believes they might be able to do that tonight, perhaps after midnight in the next couple of hours. But of course, they'll have to get those Wayne County numbers done first. And I should note, the Secretary of State just walked in here to monitor the counting of those absentee ballots, as she's been doing at precincts around the state.
All right, Jim Sciutto, thank you so much. Jim Sciutto in Detroit. I mean, John, it's 2024. They only have 16% reported in Wayne County, home of Detroit.
One of the things you look for in life are consistency.
Death taxes, Wayne County comes to life.
Wayne County, Gary, Indiana, they're consistent. This is my 10th presidential election, and it's the 10th time you've been counting late in the night, and you're saying, hello, Detroit, hello.
Yeah.
It's the way it is. But, you see the Secretary of State's there, Jim is there. Again, that's nothing nefarious. It's just inefficiency, to your point about that we live in the technological age. And Jim just said, they changed the law in Michigan so you could count some of the early votes, beforehand, and then release them after the polls close. So it adds to the why. But right now, let's focus on the what, which is an 86,000 vote, almost 87,000 vote lead for the former president, again, in one of the states he flipped in. I just want to pull that out to make sure I'm right. Yes, he's leading in all three of them now.
Oh, wait,
yeah,
that changed while we were
that
talking.
changed while we were talking.
She was ahead
she
in
was ahead.
Michigan, and now now she is no longer
Yeah.
ahead. Now Donald Trump is in the lead. Right now, not all the votes are counted, but right now he's leading in all three blue wall states.
Plus North Carolina, plus Georgia, plus Arizona, plus Nevada. We're not done with the count. We're not done with the count.
But this is right now the map of 2016.
That is the map of 2016, and that is the 5-alarm fire inside the Harris campaign to get on the phone. Again, we're not done, and we lived through 2020. And I want to say it again, slowly and clearly. 2020, this time of night, there were states that changed, and they were largely, Pennsylvania changed. Trump was ahead in Georgia. Things have changed. There's not as many mail ballots out there as in 2020, so I would not expect as dramatic a swing. The question then becomes, go state by state, county by county, is the math there? And, I'm trying to be fair and try to be, it's possible, it's possible. When you're leading in all of them and you're Trump, I mean, that's what you're sitting in the headquarters. So maybe they're not going to win them all, right? Maybe they're not going to win them all, but they're leading in all of them right now. And so let's just look at what happened here and come on in. Number one, it's the smaller rural counties. When they fill in, again, you say, oh, that's not a lot of votes. Well, that's a lot of votes when you have it there, and then you have it here, and then you have it again here. You're getting 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 in all these little counties. 120 votes there. That's only 5% reporting. You say, oh, that's not much. It's a lot when you think you're going through a state and you have all these counties. And then the question is, so what are the Democratic margins, right? You've got 83 counties in the state of Michigan. So 56%, we're about halfway through in Kent County. It's the Grand Rapids suburbs, and she's running a little bit ahead of the president there. But Jake, the big question in Michigan is, when do those Wayne County votes come in, and what do they do to the statewide total?
All right, John, well, CNN has a major projection. CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the state of North Carolina. This is the first of 7 battleground states that we're keeping an eye on, and we are calling it for Donald Trump. What does that mean for the electoral count? Donald Trump now has 227 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 153. 270 are needed to the win. Let's go to Trump HQ in West Palm Beach, Florida, where we find Caitlin Collins. And Caitlin, CNN is now calling North Carolina for Donald Trump. This is the first of 7 battleground states that the campaign is watching with eagle eyes.
Yeah, Jake, remember when I told you a few hours ago that it was going to be seen as a gut check for the Trump campaign? Listen here, it's a bit of a delay, but your call is playing right now over the loudspeakers in the room, Jake. You can hear the party here, the partygoers gathered at the convention center here in West Palm Beach cheering as your call is coming on the screen. They have been glued to CNN for the last several moments, watching John King at the map, going over each of these numbers. But North Carolina is an important benchmark for the Trump campaign because they were watching it to get a gut check for how they believed the rest of the evening could go. And I can tell you that what I'm hearing from Trump campaign sources is they are increasingly confident as the night is going on. Still not certain, of course, watching those very important blue wall states and to see what they look like. And so that is going to be the big question here as they continue to keep an eye on Pennsylvania, on Michigan, on Wisconsin, and as this is moving forward. Jake, I will tell you that we're seeing more people from the Mar-a-Lago party come over here to the Trump headquarters where this party is going to be held. But also, some Republicans are flying into Palm Beach. We just heard from House Speaker Mike Johnson, who was watching the results come in with his constituents back in Shreveport. He is now headed here tonight because he is predicting a bigger Republican margin in the House, a Republican takeover of the Senate, and he says he believes a Republican is going to win the White House, therefore Donald Trump, Jake. Obviously, still waiting to see, but a noticeable shift here in the mood at the Trump headquarters.
All right, Caitlin Collins in West Palm Beach at Trump HQ. Thank you so much. So, the first of the 7 battleground states to fall, CNN projecting North Carolina for Donald Trump.
This was the most probable pickup for Kamala Harris, if that was the world in which we were living. That is why Donald Trump went down there multiple times in the last 24, 48 hours of the campaign. And it clearly did not happen for Kamala Harris. And Trump, he's telling his people, I'm told, and just like we heard from Caitlin, that this is something that portends well for the future. We don't know what it means for the other states, but what we do know is it's even more evidence that that blue wall is the path for Kamala Harris.
And that path is just more and more narrow, I think we're seeing as the night goes on. But also, so many people thought that perhaps this would be an election that in tenor and tone would be closer to the midterms, a big conversation about abortion. That is not where it's going. It seems like you're seeing that male turnout is starting to produce what the campaign wanted.
You know, I think a lot of us came into tonight wondering, was it going to feel more like 2016 or 2020? And 4 years ago, I was at Fox, and at almost exactly this moment, at 11:20 p.m., we made the very controversial call. They made the very controversial call of Arizona. And that changed the whole feeling. And that's one of the reasons the Trump campaign was so furious about that call, because it was the first flip and the first indication that maybe it was going to be different than 2016. Right now, and look, there's a lot of voting and states to be called, but right at this moment, this does feel more like 2016 than 2020. No question about
It is interesting, and yeah, and the fact that we're calling it at this point is also significant, because I don't think North Carolina was called last time 4 years ago until maybe a week after the election, or it was certainly after Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania came on Saturday. I think North Carolina was Sunday or Monday. The fact that we are making this call now suggests that there's a bigger gap than there was last time. And Donald Trump won it last time by something like 75,000 votes.
Generally speaking, he is overperforming what he did in 2020, and she is underperforming what Joe Biden did in 2020, and that ends up what was a narrow edge for Biden is at this point, we have to condition it, a narrow defeat for Harris.
And the thing about North Carolina, and John has been talking about this and we'll do more at the wall, is you do have kind of a sense of the country in the state of North Carolina, in that there are growing minority populations, and there is a growing sort of suburban, maybe more moderate population in and around the big cities. And so that is why the Harris campaign thought, with the dynamics of the country right now, that she would have a better shot. But look, the headwinds of the economy, the inflation that people are feeling, the difficulty in their everyday lives.
Yeah, she could not outrun that Biden economy.
Yeah, and the economy, Chris, that is what people are feeling every single day. I mean, we were talking earlier about whether or not the sort of women and the idea of this being the first post-Roe presidential campaign was going to supersede how people felt when they were buying eggs and milk. And certainly North Carolina and other places that we are seeing start to formulate in these other states, the answer is no.
You know, we have talked about it all night, and we've disagreed to a certain degree about the right track, wrong track, and it was 27% right track, 60-something% wrong track. You know, maybe part of that is dissatisfaction with Trump. Maybe some of that is dissatisfaction with the abortion overturn. But in terms of what people live every day, it's the economy, it's the price of eggs, it's the fear of inflation, which with the spread of illegal immigrants north is now being felt as an issue, not just on the border, but in northern states as well.
Yeah, and Jake, I'm going to be interested to figure out and to find out, once we get all the details, how much success the Trump campaign had in increasing their share of the mail vote. They worked really hard at that.
Yeah, very interesting. Let's bring you a key race alert and get you up to speed on where we are in all the states that we have not called. In battleground Pennsylvania, Donald Trump with 51.3%, Kamala Harris 47.6%. Donald Trump more than 212,000 votes ahead, with 82% of the estimated vote in from the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. In battleground Michigan, Donald Trump in the lead, 51.2%, Kamala Harris at 47%, Donald Trump at 98,014 votes ahead of Kamala Harris, with 41% of the estimated vote in from Michigan. In battleground Wisconsin, Donald Trump in the lead, 50.7% to Harris's 47.7%. Donald Trump with a 68,000 plus vote lead over Harris, with 71% of the estimated vote in from the Badger State. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump up 50.8% to Harris's 48.3%. Donald Trump with 128,582 more votes than Kamala Harris, with 92% of the estimated vote counted in the state of Georgia. In the state of Arizona, another battleground, Donald Trump in the lead there, 49.8% to Harris's 49.3%. Donald Trump with a 7,588 vote lead over Kamala Harris. That's with more than half, 52% of the estimated vote in. In Nevada, Donald Trump in the lead, 73%. Kamala Harris with 26.2%. Donald Trump with a 10,985 vote lead over Harris. That's with only 2% of the vote in from from Nevada, only 2%. Boris Sanchez now has some new projections in the fight for control of the U.S. Senate.
Jake, a major moment for Republicans. They have just flipped. They are expected to flip their second Democratic seat of the night, this one coming in Ohio. There, Republican Bernie Moreno defeating incumbent Democrat Sherrod Brown. Moreno, the owner of some luxury car dealerships, who invested early in blockchain technology, fought to attach Brown to the Biden administration more broadly, specifically on issues like immigration. Sherrod Brown, a populist who had survived some difficult tests in his state before, cannot overcome the political headwinds he is facing. Donald Trump has now won Ohio 3 elections in a row, and it's simply too much for the incumbent Democrat to overcome. So we are projecting that Bernie Moreno is your new junior senator from the Buckeye State. Meantime, 4 Democratic holds. The first one, a historic one in New Jersey. There, Congressman Andy Kim is set to become the first Korean American ever to serve in the U.S. Senate. He defeats real estate tycoon Curtis Bashaw. Meantime, in Virginia, there, incumbent Democratic Senator Tim Kaine, a former vice presidential candidate, he's projected to defeat Hung Kao, a former Navy captain. Another Democratic hold to tell you about this one, Martin Heinrich, the incumbent senator there, seeking his 3rd term. He defeats Nella Dominici, whose father was the last Republican senator elected in New Mexico some 20 years ago. Another Democratic hold to project for you, this one coming in the state of Washington. There, Democratic incumbent Senator Maria Cantwell wins her 5th term as she defeats Raul Garcia, an ER doctor. Now, what does that pickup in Ohio mean for the magic number? We started out the night with Republicans needing to pick up 2 Democratic seats to take control of the chamber. With West Virginia and Ohio, they have hit 2, and now they're seeking to pad those numbers. Currently, as we speak, Republicans are leading in 4 seats currently held by Democrats. Let's get you an update on where those are right now with some key race alerts. These are live results coming into CNN. We start with the state of Wisconsin. There, the CEO of California-based SunWest Bank, Eric Hovde, is 29,000 votes ahead of Democratic incumbent Senator Tammy Baldwin, who's seeking her 3rd term in office, 70% of the vote. And we just got an update. The lead pretty much the same in Wisconsin for Hovde. In Pennsylvania, this has been going back and forth all night, but right now, the former CEO of one of the largest hedge funds in the world, Dave McCormick, currently leads incumbent Democratic Senator Bob Casey by about 120,000 votes. Still a very close race. This one also a very expensive one. 81% of the vote in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Now, a key race alert from the state of Michigan. This one has been close all night as well. Former Republican Congressman Mike Rogers currently leading current Democratic Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin, 48,000 votes. Rogers ahead of Slotkin, 40% of the vote in the Wolverine state. So let's take a look at the balance of power in the U.S. Senate, the raw numbers. What does this mean? Democrats hold 40 seats. Republicans, with those 2 pickups, hold 49, 11 seats remaining to be determined. Jake, obviously you need 51 for control of the chamber.
All right, Boris, thanks so much. And CNN can make a projection. CNN projects that Washington State, as expected, will go to Kamala Harris. Washington State, with its 12 electoral votes, to the Democrat, Vice President Kamala Harris. Let's look at the electoral map right now. Donald Trump has 227 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 165 electoral votes. 270 are needed to win. We are waiting for more votes in the big 3 blue wall battlegrounds of Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin that both campaigns are watching very closely right now. A total of 6 top battlegrounds remain undecided as we get later into this election night. Stay right here for the next big rollout of votes. Right now, we're going to squeeze in a quick break. Stay with us. And CNN has another projection for you. CNN projects that Donald Trump will win 3 out of the 5 electoral votes from the state of Nebraska. Allow me a second to explain. Nebraska and Maine allocate their electoral votes partly in addition to the statewide 3 votes according to congressional district. That's already too complicated, probably. Anyway, put it this way. Donald Trump has won 3 out of the 5 electoral votes. The other 2, we do not know yet, but Donald Trump has 3 of the 5. That means 3 more electoral votes for Donald Trump. And what does that mean for the electoral map? Donald Trump has 230 electoral votes. He is 40 electoral votes away from winning. Kamala Harris has 165 electoral votes. She is 105 electoral votes away from winning. Let's see what the states that we have not called, where their vote counts are. Pennsylvania. Donald Trump is in the lead there with 51.2% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 47.7% of the vote. Donald Trump is ahead of her by more than 206,000 votes. That's with 83% of the estimated vote in. That's Pennsylvania. Battleground Michigan, Donald Trump up 51.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 46.9% of the vote. Donald Trump with a more than 111,000 vote lead with an estimated 44% of the vote in from Michigan. Wisconsin now, Donald Trump in the lead there too. 50.8% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 47.6% of the vote. Donald Trump almost 80,000 votes ahead of her with 3/4 of the vote, 74% of the estimated vote from the Badger State. Ahead there too with 49.8% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 49.3% of the vote. He is more than 7,500 votes ahead of her right now, but they still have about 48% of the vote to count, 52% of the estimated vote in. In Nevada, Donald Trump is in the lead with 73% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 26.2% of the vote. Donald Trump has a more than 10,000 vote, almost 11,000 vote lead. That is with only 2% of the estimated vote in. As we follow these crucial undecided races, we are already also getting closer to another poll closing. 4 more electoral votes are at stake in the next hour in the heat of the battle to reach 270. So every electoral vote counts. We're just minutes away from voting ending in the reliably blue state of Hawaii. Over to John King now at the Magic Wall. John.
So, Jake, a quick look. You just went through the numbers. Just want to look very quickly. These 3 states, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, will determine the fate of the Harris campaign, whether there's any chance she can come back. As we wait to see those results, I just want to show you something. Bring it up. Remember January 6th? Donald Trump was finished. Even Republicans were running away from Donald Trump. Donald Trump is done as a national politician. I want to show you something. This is Trump overperforming his 2020 performance by 3% or more, right? This is a statewide look. We're not done with some of these counts out here, so this will change a little bit. But Donald Trump overperforming 2020 after January 6, 2021. That's the statewide look. Look at this. Just look at this when you go to full counties. Look at how many counties across America, 994 of the 4,000 plus, 4,600 plus counties and townships, especially up this way, part of the country, they don't call them counties, they call them townships, but in nearly 1,000, 993 right now. This will change as we go through, but Donald Trump is overperforming, and look at where they are. He's mostly performing in red areas. His vote is getting higher in the areas where he wins elections. Yes, there are some blue places where he's overperforming, but just look at battleground Pennsylvania. Look at all these red counties, places that Trump wins, where he's overperforming by 3% or more what he did in 2020. Then you come out here, let's go up to battleground Michigan. These are the decisive states left on the board right now. Look at in the areas, those are his base areas, he's getting more. The same over here in battleground Wisconsin. So the former president of the United States, given up for dead, Jake, after January 6, 2021, is running stronger now than he did in the last campaign.
All right, John King, thank you so much. Every electoral vote counts, and 4 more are on the line right now as polling places are about to close in Hawaii, and we project Kamala Harris will win the state of Hawaii with its 4 electoral votes. Not a surprise. Hawaii, a reliably Democratic vote, but that does mean a pickup of 4 electoral votes for Kamala Harris. Donald Trump has 230. He is 40 votes away from winning. Kamala Harris has 169 electoral votes. She is 101 votes away from the 270 needed to win. John King?
So, Jake, let's look at the map where we are right now, and then we'll go through some of these battleground states where we're still waiting. But just look at the map right now. You see a lot of red, right? So let's look at the 2020 map. You see the blue, right? The blue wall states, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, right? Now watch, this is where we are now. 2024 looks a lot different than 2020, but at the moment, looks pretty similar to 2016. Donald Trump won the blue wall. Donald Trump won North Carolina. Donald Trump won Georgia. Donald Trump won Arizona. The only difference would be Hillary Clinton in 2016 did carry Nevada. Donald Trump leads there right now when you come back to 2024. But it's just, sorry, 2024. Let me come up here and do this and hit this. And you go there at 2024. So that's the one, it's just a dramatic change when you come here. And so Donald Trump is remaking the map again at the moment. And the question is there any way for Harris to come back? Again, we've given Donald Trump North Carolina. So let's see where we are in Georgia. If Donald Trump also carries Georgia, the vice president cannot afford to lose Pennsylvania. Yes, Nevada's out there, Arizona's out there, Michigan and Wisconsin are out there. 19. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. So can she come back in Georgia to stop that from happening? She's limiting her, if he wins Georgia, her path is so limited. So it's 118,000 votes right now. In a state decided 4 years ago by 11,700 votes, Donald Trump with 93%, that's an important number, of the vote counted is ahead by nearly 120,000 votes. So you're looking, this is where they would have to be. You can pick up votes elsewhere, but that's where most of the votes are. That's close to half of the state population, right in Atlanta and the metropolitan area around it. So what's out there? Are there live outstanding votes out there? Well, let's take a look. The answer is yes. Let me get rid of the coloring so you don't have to see that. The answer is yes, they're out there. You're at the point now where you're talking about drawing to an inside straight flush, essentially. You need these votes to come in overwhelming numbers for you. But you do see there's the mathematical possibility. This is why the Harris campaign is on the phone. This is why I assume that Donald Trump has not come out yet to say anything, because he's hoping that this one comes off the board as well. You're looking at the math right there. It's possible. So we're waiting for more votes in Georgia. So then you come up, Jake, and we'll look at the blue wall states in a minute to see if any of the math is changing. But if you look at the map right now, you would so much rather be Donald Trump than the vice president.
All right, and we have a projection, John. CNN can project that Kamala Harris will win the Commonwealth of Virginia. Commonwealth of Virginia, with its 13 electoral votes, will go to the Democrat Vice President Kamala Harris. What does that mean for the electoral math? Let's take a look. With 270 electoral votes needed to win, Donald Trump is only 40 behind that with 230. Kamala Harris has 182 electoral votes. Let's bring you a key race alert. Where are we with all the states that we have not projected yet? Pennsylvania, Donald Trump in the lead, 51.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris, 47.6% of the vote. Donald Trump has a more than 213,000 vote lead over her with 84% of the estimated vote in from Pennsylvania. In battleground Michigan, Donald Trump up there, 51.2% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 47% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 107,294 vote lead over Harris, but there's still about 55% of the vote that has not been counted in Michigan. A lot of votes to count in Michigan. Wisconsin now, Donald Trump 51% of the vote, Kamala Harris 47.4%. Donald Trump with a more than 92,000 vote lead over Harris. That's with more than 3/4 of the votes counted in Wisconsin, 77% of the vote. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump up 50.7% to Harris's 48.4%. Donald Trump with a 118,838 vote lead over Harris, with 93% of the estimated vote in. In battleground Arizona, Donald Trump up 49.8% to Harris's 49.3%. Donald Trump with a 9,600 plus vote lead. That's with slightly more than half of the vote counted in Arizona, 52%. In Nevada, Donald Trump up 73% to Harris's 26.2% of the vote. Donald Trump with an almost 11,000 vote lead. But that is, again, with only 2% of the estimated vote in Nevada counted. Still a lot of votes to count in Nevada. John?
So, Jake, let's look at, right now you're looking at the big map and you're seeing all that red. Yes, Virginia, we just projected for the vice president. That one's blue. I'll take a closer look in a minute at that one. But you're looking at the blue wall states. Essentially, Harris's only path is to come back in these 3 states right there. I can give you a conceivable possibility where she only has to come back in 2 of them, but she has to come back in all 3 of them to have a reasonable path to 270 electoral votes. And it's a problem at the moment, 168,000 votes. I'm told more votes just recently came in Philadelphia, and indeed they did. So now you're up to 76% estimate. These can change a little bit as more votes come in. But you see that, the vice president opening a healthy lead in Philadelphia, which is a building block of a Democratic win, in Pennsylvania. The question is it enough? I just showed you Trump was leading. So 78%, 477,000 votes. If you go back 4 years ago, it's 81%, and it's 603,000 votes. Remember that, 81 and 603, 78 and 477. Can she move both numbers up when we get the final quarter of the vote? That's the challenge, because you need that math, forgive me, to overcome that. 168,000 votes in a state that was decided by 80,000 votes 4 years ago and 40,000 votes 4 years before that. That is a big lead in a tight state like Pennsylvania with 85% of the vote. So you're saying, is it just Philadelphia and the suburbs where there are outstanding votes? Again, if you're joining us late, the larger the circle, the more votes that are still outstanding to be counted, the color, the way the candidate, who's winning in that area at the moment. And so you still do right here, Philadelphia, Delaware County, Chester County, Montgomery County. There's still some math to be done there. A little bit out there in Allegheny County, where we talked to Brian Todd early in the night. A little bit up in Erie County, which is a swing county. Tends to be very close, though. So let's come back and look at this as we come through it. Number one, there are bellwether counties in Pennsylvania. Northampton is one of them, and Trump is winning with 52% of the vote right now. This county usually picks the winner in the state. As I say that, I'll say its twin is Erie, way over here. It's not twin geographically. It's twin in that they voted twice for Obama, then for Trump, then for Biden. Erie and Northampton, 2 of the 25 counties that did that. At the moment, the vice president is leading in Erie County. In the last campaign, it was Vigo County, Indiana. Their streak of picking the winner went off the board. We'll see if the 2 swing counties in Pennsylvania split as this election goes through. But if you're looking at this map right now, 85% of the vote, it's this. That's big. You know, if you're looking at 50,000, 60,000, it's easier to do the math. You're looking at 168,000, the math gets hard. Is it impossible? No. But the question is, when you start coming in here, Chester County's at 81%, large suburban counties where if you get 20 or 30% of the votes still out, you can do some big math. Montgomery County at 68%. As you can see, this is a much more populous county, so you're waiting for the 30% to come in there. The vice president would have to win it gangbusters, probably higher than the percentage she's getting so far. I just want to check it against President Biden. She's a little below President Biden, which seems pretty consistent when you go through some of these areas across these states. Bucks County is this one here. Yes, I'm in the right place. That's Montgomery. Oh, Bucks has turned red. That's why I couldn't find it, because Bucks has turned red. Only 55% of the vote in, but if this is red at the end of the night, Donald Trump's going to win the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. This is the more blue-collar, the more competitive of the 3 collar counties. It's Bucks, Delaware, and Montgomery. Used to be, this was solidly Democratic, and the others were Republican. The education divide has flipped that one. Montgomery and Delaware are reliably blue, but look at this. Donald Trump, only 55% of the vote in, but look at that, 50 to 49. If you do it there, you go back in time, 51, 48, 47. So Trump was competitive here. It was a 4-point race, a little more than that 4 years ago. But again, in a close battleground state, you want to move the margins, you flip a county. So let's see if that one holds as we go. If you're in the Harris campaign, that particularly makes you nervous. And then you come out here, and again, I just want to pick them randomly. This is where Trump just runs it up. So you're saying, can she come back in the Philadelphia suburbs and in Philadelphia? Mathematically, you can make the case. Common sense-wise, you start after a while to think, he's getting 75% here, he's getting 78% here. There's a little bit of vote out there, not much, not hardly anything left there, not much left there. So his vote is mostly in. Trump's vote is mostly in when you look at the map. But the question is there really enough there? And let's see where they are here. 94% in Allegheny County. So again, you're getting 59 to 39, 20-point gap. 20-point gap. So yeah, but it's got to be a lot of votes to come in, and they say they're at 94%. So it's not impossible. I would say we're starting to lean into the improbable. And let's go over into Michigan. This is a state where the vice president was leading early on. Then Donald Trump took the lead. He takes the lead sometimes in these states when all these rural counties fill in. Look at them all, right? And again, you just find him, and he's at 67% here, and he's at 65% here, and he's at 66% plus there. Not a lot of people, but when you've got 83 counties and you're winning 60 or 70 of them, that's how it works. And he builds it up there. And then the question is, can the Democrats overcome it with huge numbers where the people live? Number one, Wayne County, we're still only at 16%. So if you're in the Harris campaign, you're saying, okay, we have almost nothing, or less than 20% from Detroit, right? So she's getting 62%. She has 88,000 votes. And Jake, if you go back to 2020, again, when Donald Trump won Michigan, he's getting 68, and he gets close to 600,000 votes. So that's sort of our test. When Wayne County gives us more votes, do we get a huge number like that, and is the split, right? Donald Trump at 30%, that's Detroit and the suburbs around it. Donald Trump right now, it's only 20%, it's less than 20%, 16%. So, but that if he's even above 30, right? Anything he's above 30 is an improvement for him. And so we can't see it all on this map. We have to get more granular. But Detroit, is he doing better? Is Trump doing better with the black vote? Or where is overall turnout maybe down a little bit from 2020? That's a big question too. And then here you have Hamtramck and you have Dearborn. They're not on the map, but they're right here. Those are two very important pockets of Arab American voters that were 200,000 plus voted for Joe Biden 4 years ago. We don't know. We don't have that granular detail just yet, but that was one of the big questions in the campaign. Spent a lot of time on my trips at Wayne State campus, younger voters, a lot of Arab and Muslim students at Wayne State, and a lot of young progressive students at Wayne State. Did they lose the youth vote there? A lot of the questions. Now, I'm raising questions that we'll answer in more detail tomorrow and next week and the week after that when we have final results. But if you're 158,000 votes ahead, only halfway in Michigan, I mean, I hate to say it, but like you're looking at this and like that's the best of the three blue wall states.
Let's go to Wayne County right now. Let's go to Detroit where we find Jim Sciutto has an update on the vote count there. Jim?
Jake, there have been a lot of questions and some consternation as to why we haven't seen more data from Wayne County yet. And I just spoke with the Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, and we believe we have the answer here. I asked her quite specifically, and she said the reason is that Wayne County, in part, given all the scrutiny on this county as it impacts the outcome of the election in this state, is not reporting partial results. It's waiting until it has either all or the vast majority of those results in before it, in effect, gives that batch and makes it public. And I just want to highlight one point that's going to happen in the next hour, perhaps even the next few minutes. A nondescript U-Haul van is going to drive in one of these doors behind me here with the last remaining outstanding absentee ballots in Detroit, part of Wayne County, about 4,000 we expect. That's the final batch, not just, we are told, of absentee ballots outstanding, but the final outstanding votes in Detroit, big part of Wayne County. So when that truck comes through the door, they begin to tabulate those. That gets us to the point where they're going to have, in effect, all the votes they need to count and get to that point where they're going to be ready to report those final figures. We were told it could be in the next few minutes. We'll be watching. We'll report back when it happens. But that could be the point when you get that big batch reported publicly.
All right, Jim Sciutto in Detroit, Wayne County. And you were noting that we don't have Wayne County to the granular level, that we can't see Dearborn and other places where there were a lot of uncommitted votes during the Democratic primary. But just to remind our viewers, during the Democratic primaries, as a protest of President Biden's support for the Netanyahu government of Israel and its war on Hamas in Gaza, 100,000 Democrats voted uncommitted, we presumably most of them as a protest vote against Biden for that issue.
Yes, absolutely, and most of them were located here in Wayne County. Again, you have Detroit, progressive city, but also Hamtramck and Dearborn, just to the north and to the west. Large pockets, Arab American communities there that are very angry at the White House. And then the next one, you come out here again. This is Washtenaw County, where I've been 4 times, maybe 4 times, maybe 5 times, no 4, in this election to go to the University of Michigan and talk to people out there. And again, we're at 71% right now, so the numbers can change. But she's at 66%. This is Ann Arbor, University of Michigan. Again, you have a big college campus. It tends to be a very liberal pocket, progressive pocket. You're saying, wow, 65% of the vote, 66 if you round up, that's great.
Oh my God.
73%. And the math, 157,000, to 103. Well, again, we got 30% of the votes still to come in, and maybe the percentages change as well. Maybe all the votes that are out are from the campus, and it juices up the number a little bit. But if you're looking at that now, you're underperforming the President of the United States, and Donald Trump's at 32%. And 26%. That's if that gap holds and if his improvement like that holds, I'm sorry, go ahead. That's a big deal, though.
Well, I was just going to say one of the things you hear from the Arab American and Muslim American community in places like Michigan is not that they were going to vote for Donald Trump, but they either were not going to vote or they were going to vote for Jill Stein or Cornel West. I'm not sure if Cornel West is on the ballot in Michigan, but these numbers don't add up to 100 here. So I'm guessing that there is a better than, my guess would be, educated guess would be, there's going to be a better than average showing for Jill Stein in Michigan than in other states.
Right, and she worked it hard. She was out there quite a bit. Every trip I was out there, you saw activity. Either she was in the state or had just been in the state.
Yeah. So just to explain it. Now, one of the other things I heard about people talking about Michigan is everybody in the media, all you talk about is the Arab American, Muslim American vote, but really the issue in terms of a big sizable, bigger chunk of votes is white working class voters, union voters, because the Trump campaign ran ads slamming Harris's position on electric vehicles, EVs, and that is actually going to be more significant ultimately. That was, this is just their projection, than the Arab American, Muslim American vote. Is there any way we can gauge that, how well or poorly she did compared to Biden when it comes to white, non-college educated union voters?
David would have the exit polls. We could look at union households. That's a question on the exit polls. I can show you some counties where we were. 3 times I went out there to talk to union auto worker groups. And I want to just say this up front. There are more automobile manufacturing jobs in the United States today than at any point during the Trump presidency. I repeat, there are more auto manufacturing jobs in the United States today than at any point in the Trump presidency. However, the EV debate is a debate. Stellantis just laid off 1,100 people, right? And in part because they say they have electric vehicles sitting on the lot. The union says that's BS. It's corporate greed. They're not keeping their word. But this is a conversation. Are they going too fast? At a minimum, are they going too fast? There are some auto workers who say, why are you forcing this on us? There are others saying the infrastructure is not in place. Culturally, people aren't ready for them. Why are you going so fast? So one of the places you'll find that is right here in Macomb County. We met Joseph Knowles, just laid off from Stellantis, a black union auto worker. No one in his family had ever voted Republican for president. He was voting for Donald Trump. He said everybody in his family was mad at him. This is where you find them right here. Bill Govier is another Ford worker in Macomb County who wanted to vote for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. When he dropped out and backed Trump, Bill Govier said, that's great. I love them both. And he voted for Trump a 3rd time. So some of them have been in Trump's camp, like a Bill Govier. Joseph Knowles is a +1, voted Democrat all his life, right? So there, Macomb County, we got a long way to go here, 36%. But Trump at 58, when you round that up, Trump at 53 right there. So again, we'll see if that sustains itself.
Yeah.
And the Biden number at 45, the Harris number at 40. If that's the number at the end, then it's very hard.
Well,
to
there
see
you
it coming
go,
back
and
to
you can
Michigan.
see not all of that change is from that one issue or that one demographic I described, but that is quite significant if it holds. Let's go to Pamela Brown at the voting desk. Let's jump to Wisconsin if we could, because Pamela wants to talk about Milwaukee and what's going on there. Pamela?
Yeah, I've been talking to officials there, Milwaukee County as well as the city. Let's look at Milwaukee County right now. A large portion of the vote that remains is from Milwaukee City itself. This is the largest county. This is the largest city in Wisconsin. According to a source in Milwaukee County, 9 out of 19 municipalities are completely reported. And the source also says that the county clerk there expects all results from Milwaukee County to be reported between 2 and 4 a.m. tonight, Central Time. So these results coming in overnight there from Milwaukee County. That is the expectation. Now, let's dive in here to the Milwaukee City. I just spoke to an official there. Milwaukee City has 27,724 mail-in ballots left to be counted so far. In addition, officials are still waiting for results from 4 wards still, and those would be the day of votes. So from election day. So there's still quite a bit to go to count tonight there in Milwaukee City. For context, 69% went for Biden in 2020. And as I mentioned, this is the largest county in Wisconsin. So we're keeping a close eye on this.
All right, Pamela, thanks so much. Let's take a look at Wisconsin as long as Pamela drove us here.
So a critical point she makes, 4 wards in the city of Milwaukee still have not reported their election day votes. And again, anecdotally, just texting people out in the state, they said turnout was good. They weren't saying great or gangbusters, they were saying good. So you wait. But again, so we're waiting for the city. This is Milwaukee plus the suburbs around it. The county is what you see here. But she's at 66% and Joe Biden's at 69%. So when those city of Milwaukee votes come in, that not only does that percentage need to move, but that math needs to change quite significantly if you're trying to make up that. Now, 96,000, that's better than 150,000, right? Simple math, people. We always say politics can be very complicated. Sometimes it comes down to basic arithmetic. Are there enough votes still out there to overcome a 96,000 vote lead? And so if Pam says 4 big wards are still out in Milwaukee City and there's a little bit more in Milwaukee County, the answer is maybe. right? Again, you're getting to the point where you're drawing to an inside straight flush, but maybe. So then you look around in other Democratic areas, and again, Eau Claire, she's getting 55% of the vote. I just want to compare that. She's a little,
Same thing,
that's okay,
yeah.
a little better maybe, but it's not a ton of. It's just not a ton of people there. Then you come down to La Crosse. You're looking at the blue areas, and you're saying, is there anything? Not much left, right? It's not a huge swing anyway. So even if you pick up some votes,
Yeah.
you're not picking up a ton there. So if you're looking at this map now, I just want to check what was our percentage here? 95% in Dane County, and these other blue counties around it. I'll hit them for you. You just see they're pretty small population-wise. I mean, not tiny, but again, you're at 95% Rock County, 95% Greene County, 92% Lafayette County. That one is a little bit smaller. So again, the math's getting really hard if you're trying to figure out, can Harris
Yeah.
come back in Wisconsin? And I would say simply that it comes down to that, and those Milwaukee precincts that are out better be gangbusters.
May I do a personal prerogative? May I see the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania? We haven't
You
checked
may.
in there in a while, and that's obviously a place near and dear to my heart. And I have questions about it. One of them is Allentown, which is blue right now. Allentown, the city of Allentown is 54% Latino, 54%, and Pennsylvania, as we've discussed, has the third largest Puerto Rican population on the mainland, behind only New York and New York and Florida. So my question is, how is she doing in this Latino area compared to Joe Biden 4 years ago?
Again, cannot go granular just into the city of Allentown,
Right,
but
right.
you can look at Lehigh County here, right? And I can already tell you, 51 to 48, if you're the Trump campaign, sure, you'd like to win it. But you're looking at 48% in Lehigh County, and you're feeling pretty good because you were 46 last time, right? And again, within a battleground state, you think margins within the margins, the battlegrounds within the battlegrounds. So, Joe Biden at 53% with 98,000 votes. The vice president at 50% with 93,000 votes. Now, we're not completely done there, but that 5,000 votes makes a big difference. It just does, right? So that's there, right? So then you come out here and you come up, let's just move on up, right? Carbon County, look at this, Trump getting 73% of the vote. He's improved. That's
Oh,
one
my
of the
goodness.
places he's
Yeah.
overperformed himself. And then you move up here, this is Lackawanna County, Scranton, Pennsylvania, Joe Biden's hometown. It's a tough, competitive blue-collar area, but 51 to 48 now, 54 to 45.
And if that movement
then.
of 4%
Right.
can be the whole thing.
It's a couple thousand votes here. It's a couple thousand votes there. I want to show you
By the
something
way,
else.
can I just point out that
Erie has now flipped.
Erie, which has always voted with
Yeah.
the presidential victor
Yep.
in Pennsylvania and nationally,
Yes.
is now with Trump.
Has flipped, and let's see where the turnout is there. Again, it's one of the 25. They're at 95%. It's very close, but it's always very close. So you see Erie County, very close there. And I just want to come across the state, Northampton County. So you're on the, your Buffalo, New York border, and here's New Jersey here. You've got, 52 to 47 there. Not done yet, but the two multi-pivot counties, twice for Obama, then for Trump, then for Biden. At the moment, they're going back to Trump. I just want to show one more thing we haven't shown tonight. I just want to bring this up and bring this out. It's not here. It is here. No, it is here. Sorry. I will figure this out eventually. I promise you. I just have too many gizmos. Just want to come in here. Come on. And show you this. So let's go out nationally first. Everyone's been talking all night long about the headwinds. There'll be a lot of questions asked about this after the fact. This is not a good environment for any incumbent. Kamala Harris is the incumbent vice president. What this shows you is not votes. This shows you the darker the county, the more that county has been hit by inflation. Meaning, the darker the county, the more cost of living, energy prices, gas prices, housing prices in a lot of places have outpaced wage increases, right? Try to find me, see the green?
Yeah, what does that mean?
That's the county where your wages have outpaced inflations. You can use a hand. You will fill one hand. In the more than 4,000 counties and townships in the United States, you use one hand to fill out the counties where wages have outpaced inflation.
So can I make two observations?
So I
based
just
on
want
this?
to come back into your Commonwealth.
Oh my goodness, look
I
at
want to
that.
come back to your Commonwealth. The darker the county, the more punishing, the more inflation has outpaced your wages, your cost of living. And just look. I mean, the fact that she's doing as well in the suburbs is a testament to the Democratic strength there. But you see in these other places, it's just, that was the headwind. And that came up. I can tell you I was on the road for 15 months, and that came up from the first trip to the last trip, even for people voting for Harris. Even for people gladly and proudly voting for Harris, we're saying it still sucks when I go to the grocery store.
Yeah, and that's also why the right track, wrong track numbers are 75% wrong track, 25, but the election's not 75%, 25, because there are people who think it's wrong track, but they're still going to vote for the Democrat.